Hey, welcome. I want to talk today, start out with a question for you. Is there a lack of trust for police in our society today? Obviously, I have my thoughts on it, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but just want you to think about that as we go through the next few minutes. First and foremost, I want to remind everybody that I am 100% supportive of policing. I've spent the last 27 years of my life involved in law enforcement, and I believe in policing. I believe in the profession of law enforcement. I believe in police officers. Everything I do, including now owning my own training company, is geared towards helping to provide a better product to the community. And by that, I mean helping police officers do a better job of what they do. One of the things I hear people say is, well, there are some bad police officers, but 99.9% are trying to do the right thing and are good people. And I will agree that they're good people, and that they're trying to do the right thing. But I also believe that there is a lot of room for improvement, and that 99% of the police officers are not doing as good a job as they could be doing and as they should be doing, for a couple of reasons, and I'll get to one or two of those in a minute. But I agree, the vast majority of police officers have the right intentions, the correct intentions. When I teach, and when I was a training officer, when I was working, one of the things I always ask officers is, what is your product? What is a police officer's product? And they kind of look at me like, what? It's your credibility, right? It's the ability for a police officer to go into a court of law, take all the facts that they gather, evidence that they gather in a case or whatever, take it into a court of law and have it presented and have people believe them. So in order to be believed, there has to be a trust that the police officer's telling the truth, they aren't lying, that they're honest, that they're accountable, that they're responsible. Part of the reason why our society is so skeptical of police officers, or is skeptical, not so skeptical, but is skeptical of police officers, and rightfully so, is because police officers hold a lot of authority and responsibility. They literally hold people's lives in their hands. They hold their freedoms, financial ability, financial security. If charges are brought against you and you end up paying a large fine or restitution or whatever, or you go to jail, you go to prison, that has a negative impact on your financial situation, your freedoms, as I said, and your life, quite honestly. So people should be skeptical. Are police officers doing the best job they can, and are they continuing to be accountable, responsible to the trust that we place in them? I see law enforcement, saying, that Hollywood's to blame, Barack Obama's to blame for negative perception of police officers, and then I stop and I go, what about the news articles where this person's been released from prison after 20 years because the detective in the case lied on the stand, or a witness lied, and the prosecution or the police officers manipulated it to manipulate things to match that, or videos that we see on social media nowadays where police officers are lying on traffic stops. They're telling somebody that something can happen to them when it actually can't, and they're getting their bluff called, and now then they start down another road of just saying stupid things and lying about things. You look at some of the news in the news recently, in the last month, a major one that happened in Houston, where they serve a search warrant on a house for narcotics, and they get into a shooting and they end up killing the two suspects and the suspect's dog, and 4 police officers are shot and wounded, and then come to find out that the detective in the case who was one of the officers who got shot, lied to get the search warrant, made up information in order to get the search warrant. And so you just look at stuff like that and you say, well, okay, yeah, Hollywood, or is it happening in real life? When you look at stuff like that, and Hollywood is merely a reflection of society. It's not on the leading edge of anything. It's not creating things. It's reflecting society. It mirrors society. It shows what's going on already. I saw an article where somebody was writing saying that they presented 10 different little presentations of where movies had made police officers look bad, and as I'm reading it, I was off the top of my head able to think of 10 real events that matched those events that were presented in movies. And I was like, and this was just in the last year that these events happened. So I'm like, you're telling me that the movies are doing this, but it's happening in real life. So really, who's responsible for police officers looking corrupt, untrustworthy, unaccountable? Who's responsible for that? Well, it's police officers. The first thing that officers need to realize, and that we need to see, and law enforcement needs to realize, is to stop displacing responsibility. Is to realize that bad police officers make police officers look bad, and good police officers make police officers look bad when they don't hold the bad police officers accountable. They don't get rid of them or get them out of law enforcement. When they continue to allow them to lie, manipulate things, be illegal. So, it's that whole idea where they say, if you see something, say something. Well, the public is saying, you're telling us if we see a criminal act, we should report it, but you're seeing criminal acts from other police officers all the time, and you're not doing anything about it. You're letting it go. So how are we supposed to trust in you? You're holding us accountable, but you're not holding yourselves accountable. You're not holding each other accountable. But yet you want to sit there and look at us and hold us accountable. First thing that has to happen is that law enforcement needs to hold each officer needs to hold themselves accountable. When I was a trainer and I would have an officer with me and driving around, and they would blow a stop sign, go run through a stop sign without stopping, I'd say, hey, you didn't stop at that stop sign. And they challenge me sometimes and say, well, I did. I go, well, I'm not lying about it. I don't have to lie and tell you didn't stop when you did. You didn't stop. And I say, how are you supposed to hold other people accountable how are you supposed to write a ticket for failing to stop at a stop sign when you don't do that? You're asking people to behave in a manner that you're not requiring of yourself. You're not saying, hey, I'm accountable, so you also need to be. You're saying, hey, I'm holding you accountable to something I don't hold myself accountable to. And people, they're not going to go for that. Nobody's going to go for that. But that's where it has to happen. Law enforcement has to start to hold, each individual officer has to hold themselves accountable, then hold each other accountable. Once that happens, that's all you can do, right? That's all you can do. I'd say all the time, why aren't there negative stories and negative images portrayed about firefighters? I mean, other than the occasional one, they might fight in the firehouse, whatever, okay, that's fine. But why? Because they don't hold people accountable. They just come in and they protect property, protect life, and that's it. So they don't have this other layer to them that police officers have. Police officers, trust me, all the time, you'll see where police officers are saving people's lives, like in fires, because the police officers are the first to get there. So they rescue people out of burning buildings more often than firefighters do. Firefighters got to get there and they got to get all their equipment on and everything. Police just run in. So, I'm not saying that police officers don't save people's lives in a true manner or protecting people from criminal acts, but they also have that layer where they have to hold the people accountable. And when you have to hold someone else accountable, you have to hold yourself accountable. That's where that trust comes in. That's where that believability comes in. Because if I sit there and say, no, I require this of myself, so I also require it of you, I'm holding you no more accountable than I hold myself accountable to things. Then people will say, oh, okay, I trust you. I may not like it, but I'll go along with it because I understand that it's equal here, right? It's equal. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And it's not like climbing a mountain, but it is that significant. But it's the little things, right? It's the little things where watching each other, watching ourselves, saying, hey, I didn't do that correctly. I need to up my game on that. I need to get better. Or for other officers, hey, your officers are doing this or doing that. They shouldn't be. We just have to establish that. The community. A lot of people say, "Oh, I trust police officers," but then you see where look at the hit that the FBI has taken. The FBI, the preeminent law enforcement agency in our country, but because a couple things happened, now everybody, the FBI is no good. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. But we do need to restore that trust. People say, well, 99%. I say, well, we should be working for 100%. We should constantly be striving for 100%. Maybe that's not attainable, but if everybody's effort is going towards 100%, we're going to do a pretty good job. I'll say it's nowhere near 99%. It's not. Look at everything that goes on during the day. Look at weekly, the news reports that come out. So we might have to do much better in that effort. So again, just my opinion, my musings, my perspective on things, based on what I see, based on reason, based on what's going on. I'm not trying to make this stuff up. I'm relaying information that's out there, that's evident, and I just think sometimes we don't want to look at it in that way. Law enforcement want to look like we're doing everything we're doing is great. We're always doing great. Well, no, truly we are our brother's keeper. We have to be checking each other. We have to be checking ourselves. So, thank you for tuning in, and look forward to seeing you again next time.